Tristan Thompson, decade in the NBA, finals in 4 straight years. He's a big guy. He's a big fella. And when I watched that game last night, the Lakers' size was such a problem for Miami. It felt like the series was over, and he is joining us now live via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network. Were you surprised by how dominant the Lakers were, Tristan?
Yeah, most definitely. I know going into this series, I knew that AD had to be a big factor, but I didn't realize, with Dwight Howard and AD on the court against Bam and Jay Crowder, I was like, man, this is like men versus boys. Like, Dwight Howard's dumping it off, getting assists, which I've never seen Dwight Howard really do, to AD just playing big for big. It was just like Varsity versus JV. It was just like, look, just getting and ones, offensive rebounds, like, Lord Jesus.
Yeah. Now, you've been in enough finals. Did you ever play at a game one, maybe get beat badly or win big? And what do you think the Heat are saying today?
I think it's very similar to in 2018 when we got swept by Golden State. We had a lot of fresh faces, guys that have never been to the finals. And that game when LeBron's charge turned into a block, which I never seen happen before ever in NBA history. That game we lost, I think for some guys on our team that haven't been to the final, I think mentally it kind of, set our team back. And I feel like for Miami, like this was their game that they needed to win, because I think confidence-wise, these guys that are young and experienced, they need a game like this to feel like, okay, we belong here. You know what I'm saying? Like we beat Milwaukee, we beat Boston, but when you're warming up and you see LeBron and AD dunking and layup lines, you're like, you're intimidated. It's just the natural reaction. So last night definitely showed it was the A team versus the B team,
What do you think LeBron says? I think apathy can be a real thing when you have a dominant team. LeBron's smart. He watches that game and he thinks Bam Adebayo is not going to stop AD, and he knows nobody's going to stop him. What do you think LeBron is saying last night and this morning?
Definitely keep the foot on the gas. I think one thing about this Miami ball club and the organization that's rambling with Pat Riley and Spoelstra is that, they're not going to give up. Even though they might not have as much talent, guys might fall because of injury, they're going to keep playing hard for 48 minutes, and LeBron knows that because he's been there. He knows Spoelstra. He knows what Spoelstra's saying to those guys. So for LeBron, it's like, we're not taking our foot off the gas. We got to continue attacking these guys. They're smaller than us. Attack the rebound. AD, continue to be 25 and 15. Dwight, when you're out there, get offensive rebound. Do things that don't show up in the stat sheet, but you're still impacting the game. So this is just a veteran ball club that understands, but especially with LeBron, and he knows what's on the line. He's locked in, and he's keeping that car on supercharge.
LeBron said this was the most challenging playoffs of his life in the bubble. I'm sure you've talked to some of your friends in the league and some of the Lakers. Kind of tell my audience what you're going through as an older player for the last 3 months in Florida in this bubble.
Yeah, no, it's the bubble is definitely, especially for veteran players, it's much more difficult, especially for a guy like LeBron. He's a guy that, he's got a big family. He's got a wife, kids. He has his routine. He's making movies. He's a big routine guy. So for him being in LA and be able to get his treatment and being with his family and chef, all that stuff, even for other players, that stuff is kind of what helps you get ready for the game. So for him not being able to have that on a daily basis, it's definitely frustrating and tough. But if you ask a guy like, Tyler Hero or some other young guys that are 19, 20, they're just used to this. This is like AAU, where it's like hotel, eat food in the lounge, go back to your room, play video games. For them, they really don't have much else going on. So for a younger guy, it's like, hey, man, I was just doing this 8 months ago in college at Kentucky. But for a guy like LeBron, this is definitely difficult, especially, the hotel room, no matter how big your suite is, but every day you're there longer, the room just gets smaller and smaller, and it just drives you crazy.
It certainly does. I have said I'm surprised that LeBron and AD, the first 2 weeks, it just clicked. Mm-hmm. Are you surprised?
No, not at all. I think what makes this duo different than the other teams in the league compared to, the Russell Westbrook and James Harden or Ben and Embiid, I think with this one is that, first of all, LeBron shoots it better now in his career, which opens up a lot for AD to work around on the left block and work in the paint, which AD wants to do. And for LeBron, he's basically the point guard. So he knows exactly where AD wants it, how to get AD going. If you watch the games, LeBron should get AD going early. You feed the beast early, you get him going, and LeBron can get his numbers. He knows he can get his numbers. He knows how he can get himself going. So I think that's why it's worked so well compared to with Embiid and Ben, they both play in the paint. With Russell Westbrook and James Harden, they're both ball dominant. So it's tough because guys kind of have to give up a little bit, And even with LeBron and D Wade, they went through some growing pains because they both are point guards on the floor and they both have the ball in their hand. But with AD and LeBron, it's like Shaq and Kobe. Here, I'm gonna feed the big fella. You go to work. If they double team you, kick it out to me. I trust my 3-point shot, or come in a pick and roll. Let me attack the rim and get a 2-on-1 action.
It's interesting. An interesting player last night. He was very good early as Tyler Hero. So with Goran Dragic hurt, we'll find out more with Joy Taylor and Herdline News. But with him hurt, you don't have many options now. You got to pick. Tyler Hero's a problem defensively, but you need his scoring because outside of Jimmy Butler now, you just need his scoring. And Bam's got to play such good defense in this series. That's going to sap some energy from him on the offensive end. But if you were the Lakers and you knew the Heat had to play Tyler Hero 30 minutes because they need his offense so desperately, what would you do if you were Frank Vogel?
If I'm Frank Vogel, first play of the game, if I'm not giving it to AD, I'm running a pick and roll. Whoever Tyler Hero's guarding, come set a pick and roll. So he's probably going to be guarding Danny Green. So if I'm LeBron, come up top Danny Green, set this screen, let me get an ISO against Tyler Hero. At the end of the day, Spoelstra knows that he needs scoring, but he's going to have to sacrifice some defense. But with Tyler Hero in the game, you're going to have to give the defense. So if I'm Frank Vogel, we're going to tag Tyler Hero every time. We're going to put him in every pick and roll. And with him having to guard on the offensive end, maybe his legs might be tired. He might, some of his shots might be short. So, Tyler Hero, get them puppies ready because, you have to play both ends. And, you want to be a good player in this league, you have to do on both ends. So we got to be ready.
It's interesting, Tristan Thompson joining us, is that the bubble, COVID actually gave LeBron's legs about 4 months off. I think he's the freshest he's been in years. I mean, what does it look like to you?
No, he looks fresh. You saw at the end of at halftime when Kuzma threw up that floater, he did a reverse dunk. I said, Lord, I can't even do that if I warm up for 30 minutes. So I think this COVID thing was the best for LeBron's legs to keep him fresh. And you see it out there. He's shooting threes. He's playing 40 minutes. He's dunking. He's playing on both ends. He might sprain an ankle and dunk the next play, which is crazy and unheard of. But I think this was like a blessing in the sky for him.
Finally, Kyrie Irving had a recent quote on KD. He said, I felt like I was the best option on every team I played for down the stretch. This is the first time with KD in my career where I can say that guy can make that shot too. What do you make of that?
I'm hoping that it was a way to get, to bring him and KD closer. So give him a compliment for ego, because that's what I'm hoping, because you play with LeBron, K-Love, and in terms of making shots, I mean, J.R. Smith's probably one of the best guys to take a shot from anywhere on the court, and he can make it. So he's played with some other killers on the court. So I'm hoping that this is just part of Sean Marks and Kyrie's plan to get KD all together and make it a great kumbaya, because in Cleveland we had some bad boys. This guy's playing the finals last night, LeBron James. He's a pretty good player. So if I give him the ball, I'm pretty sure he'll make shots too.
I had the Lakers in 5. I think it may be a sweep. I really do feel I think Bam Adebayo matched up great with the Celtics because they were a small team and he could concentrate on offense. I think Bam defensively now has to guard LeBron and AD. I don't think you'll get much offense from him. I think it's a problem they can't solve. I think we could be looking at a sweep. Your thought? What do you think?
Going into this, I was saying, because I respect the Heat's organization and I respect Spoelstra and Pat Riley, I was saying, Lakers in 6. But of course, if guys are not playing, if Dragic's out, that's a big loss for them. So then I move it down to Lakers in 5. But I think I have Lakers winning the first 2 games. I think game 3, if the Heat want to win a game, and probably the only game that I have them winning would be game 3. They'll treat like their game 7.
Yeah.
And I think that's their one win and an opportunity to get a win instead of getting a 4-0 sweep. So I just have them getting one win. And just last night I was really surprised and shocked how much size was a factor in game 1. Of course, Lakers aren't going to shoot it as great every first half like that again. I know we've been talking about it. We've tried to figure out, who's going to make shots for them. So they were definitely clicking all cylinders first half. But I think, the Heat can get game 3. I think that's their one win they'll get in the series.
Tristan, absolute pleasure talking to you. 10 years in the NBA, 4 straight finals. We'll talk soon, my man. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.